Welcome into the Sport Life YouTube channel. My name is Kevin Ward. Let's get right into the video. Hey everybody. In this video, this is much more for the Dynasty community going forward. These are some rookies that going into your Dynasty rookie drafts, right, that I would heavily target in the second round or later. There might be one player on my list that is probably going to sneak into the back end of the first round, but I think in majority of drafts he's going in the second round, second and third round. So second round, third round, later. These are guys that if you can trade up and get into picks, I would target them going forward. All right, so let's kick off this list. One of my guys that I'm a huge fan of, I was watching him in college, and I thought he made a bunch of big plays for Indiana going forward. Body control, he was a savvy route runner, body position, contested catches, tough, and he's an older guy, so he's seasoned. He's got a lot of reps. Elijah Surratt. As we watched the college season unfold, Indiana ended up having a lot of great players that really helped that team become a dynamic offense going forward. Omar Cooper, obviously the first rounder. Charlie Becker was a big play guy for them. But I think a reliable guy that Fernando really relied on and, doesn't explode a lot from an athletic standpoint, but just seemed like a seasoned veteran out there for that team. He's 23 years old, so, he spent a lot of time in college. He's got a lot of reps. He's matured. But when I saw that guys that need to make a bunch of big plays for them, like clutch dynamic plays for them, and just won a lot, with tough contested catches or body positioning or savvy route running, it was Elijah Surratt that really stood out to me. And a lot of the attention is going to go to Omar Cooper, who went in the first round. He went to the Jets. Hate that situation for him. But Surratt goes to the Ravens. And another reason why I'm excited for his opportunity going forward, you cannot say without a shadow of a doubt after Zay Flowers that there's any reliable number 2 pass catcher on that team. Mark Andrews is getting older. And I know he got extended, but he's getting older. He's not the reliable target that he used to be anymore. And then Rashad Bateman is severely disappointed from a fantasy football perspective and an NFL perspective. They signed him to an extension, and it was a cheap extension, so it's not like the Ravens are hurting a lot, but he has not stepped into that number 2 role next to Zay Flowers that they really need him to be, right? And they drafted Jacoby Lane as well, but I think Surratt has an opportunity to really get a lot of targets in this offense. They're a win now team, so they're going to want guys who are going to step into the role and immediately produce, right? And I know Surratt was taken in the middle rounds of the NFL draft, but I think he's going to have a chance to really have a nice role in this offense because there's targets out there for guys to get, right? And I think, Lamar's going to really like him going forward. And they kind of need a wide receiver, right, like him, like this possession, tough, contested catch guy. It's going to win on some third downs and make some plays, and I think Lamar's going to learn to trust him and rely on him. And I just like his game. Like, just go watch the tape. Go watch the tape on this guy. And I'm not saying just watch the highlight tape. Like, if you can find those videos that kind of show their full season targets, just if you take some time. And I know it's hard, especially in our busy lives, but take some time and watch this guy, and I think you'll kind of learn to love him, and I think he's being slept on a little bit. And the situation he went to gives me further confidence going forward that this guy's going to be a really good fantasy player, especially in the Dynasty community. And, if you guys have taxi squads, I think he's a great taxi squad guy to stash, and I think you'll like it going forward. So, yeah, Elijah Surratt's going to be a guy I'm going to keep an eye on in some of my rookie Dynasty drafts that I'm going to target in the later rounds. All right, another guy that definitely being slept on, but I think if you're patient enough, he's going to be a player that could really pay off big dividends going forward, especially because the situation he's in could be highly beneficial. Damon Claiborne, running back. He was taken out of Wake Forest for the Minnesota Vikings. You look at their situation. I think Aaron Jones is on the last year of his deal. Jordan Mason's on the last year of his deal. Kevin O'Connell is, for the most part, one of the more respected offensive minds in the NFL community. And they have a ton of offensive weapons. Like, there's a strong offensive core here with the Minnesota Vikings. So a lot of opportunities to score a lot of points, right? They're trying to figure out their quarterback situation, Kyler Murray or J.J. McCarthy. I think Kyler Murray is going to win out. And I think this offense is going to be better for it going forward. Now, going into this year, they're a win-now team. So they're definitely going to lean more on Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. But don't be surprised if you start seeing some explosive plays from Damon Claiborne, every once in a while, him getting limited touches. But you're like, damn, that guy pops. Like, that guy has explosive runs, going forward. And again, Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason on the last year of their deals. You go into the next offseason, maybe they don't sign him back. And then going forward, Damon gets a lot more opportunities going forward, right? So, like, for me, and it all depends on where your dynasty team is, right? But you have to make a decision like, is my team a win-now team? Can I afford to take this guy with a later second-round pick, etc. going forward, right? I think there's opportunities if you can take him in the third round, put him on a taxi squad spot, and just hold. I think he could be a nice player going forward, right? But again, you got to have some patience with him, right? I don't think you're going to see immediate payoffs this season. But if you have the long-term vision and perspective going forward, I think you can really pay off in this offense with this head coach and this scheme going forward. Just a lot of these guys, like watch him at Wake Forest. I see him making a lot of guys miss at the second level, and he I'm not saying he's going to be Dalvin Cook, but for me, he kind of has this one-cut, explosive, shoot-through-the-hole explosiveness to him. And when you watch him run, like, he glides across the field. Like, all of a sudden, you just start seeing separation between him and the defenders. And Aaron Jones doesn't have that top-end speed anymore. Like, he's not that guy in terms of what you can do from a running back perspective. Jordan Mason, he's kind of a bigger guy, bruiser. He's explosive, but not in the way that I think Claiborne is. And I think Kevin O'Connell is going to find some opportunities to use him to get some of those explosive runs from a speed perspective going forward. And so he gives me a lot of hope. And again, just take some time, watch the tape on this guy. And I think you'll kind of see what I'm seeing, and you'll kind of get hopeful of what he could be going forward in an NFL offense and for your dynasty team. So I'd really keep an eye on him going forward and see what you're hearing out of training camp. And again, watch with your eyes and what you're seeing with him coming out of college. And again, like when watching college tape, right? Like maybe the first game of the year, he's going off because he's going against some really crappy college team that just doesn't deserve to be there. College schedules always kind of have those games littered in there where it inflates your stats and the player looks better than what he is. No, watch him against good, solid teams and then get your perspective off that, right? And then that will make you more comfortable if you want to draft him going forward into what you're hoping he could be, right? All right. Next player that I really want to talk about, again, he's another player you got to be patient with. You got to see the long-term vision. But this guy actually had a lot more hype than Damond for a while. And I think as a dynasty community, we were waiting in college for him to become the player that he was kind of touted to be when he first got to Penn State. Nicholas Singleton. Right? And so for Singleton, like we always saw the big playability. We always saw the natural talent. And then like at Penn State, he just never became what we wanted him to become. And you hear reports like his vision, his decision making wasn't that great. He still had to kind of refine himself as a running back, and his running back vision wasn't what they wanted it to be. But he definitely exploded and showed his talent every once in a while that just made you want more, and you never got it. And as a Dynasty community, we were hoping that he would kind of be right there with with Jeremiah Love as, you know, a first round running back in this class, and he never turned out to be that way. And he's going to a young offense in a situation that I think can be really exciting. Brian Daboll's the new OC, Cam Ward's the quarterback, right? And then, you know, you got Carnell Tate is their wide receiver one. Wan'Dale Robinson signed a nice contract for them. So that's exciting going forward. The thing that's giving you pause and why you may not be patient enough, because I think it's not about a this year thing. And maybe it is. Maybe he gets opportunities and he shows that he really can be the guy we're hoping he can be, and he does it later. But you got Tony Pollard there and you got Tyjae Spears. And so with that in mind, it's a crowded room, right? This is the reason why I think you should be patient. And again, if you can stash them on your taxi squad and just hold them on your roster, Tyjae Spears is in the last year of his rookie deal. Tony Pollard's in the last year of the deal he signed. So again, like Demond, going forward, after this year, there is an opportunity for him to get more touches and to take over this running back room. The talent is there. Now, can Brian Daboll and this offensive staff develop him enough to become the player we're hoping he can be? And, you know, with this offense, as it builds going forward, right? Like, you got a rookie on a cheap deal, right? You got a wide receiver one, Carnell Tate, on a cheap deal. You got a tight end that I think has sneaky value, Gunnar Helm, you know, on a cheap deal going forward. So you can build this offensive line, this offense going forward. And I think Nick Singleton can be the beneficiary of this team in the long-term vision of what they're trying to do. I don't think they're going to re-sign Tony Pollard. He's nearing the end of his prime. He's going to be gone. I don't think Tyjae Spears has shown enough for them to extend him and to keep him, right? They've had 4 years to look at him. He's had some injury history, and he hasn't always been the most efficient running back for them. So they're looking for somebody to take over that room that they can have on a cheap contract to build the rest of this team going forward. So Nick Singleton's going to have his chances. So again, you're not going to get the immediate production out of him if you draft him. You have to hope that as it goes forward, he develops, gets better, flashes more of that talent. And then the Titans as an organization going forward are like, all right, we're going to move off Tyjae and Tony, and we're going to give this room to Nick as long as he shows the ability to take that for himself. So he's a guy that I'm going to be looking at heavily going forward, and I think he's going to have the opportunity to become the player that we've been waiting and we're hoping he can be. All right, my favorite guy, and again, this is a guy that I think is going to start sneaking back into the first round. Like, if you're a Dynasty rookie draft and you're drafting now, I think he's in the second round. But as we go into training camp, I think his name's going to start getting mentioned more, and you're going to start seeing him slide up into that first round. Zachariah Branch, wide receiver out of Georgia. He was playing at USC. He gets drafted to the Atlanta Falcons. And I've mentioned him in my other videos, but I think he's going to have a chance to be a very dynamic player for Kevin Stefanski and the Atlanta Falcons. And I think Tua Tagovailoa is going to be the starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. And yes, I think that's an upgrade over Michael Penix. You look at this team, it's highlighted by 3 offensive stars. Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson. Those are the 3 foundational pieces of this offense from a skill position standpoint, and they're going to get their touches. From a wide receiver 2 perspective, behind Drake, who is it? Darnell Mooney's gone. There's no one else that really jumps out to me. I think Branch has the explosive capability and the talent to garner a lot of targets from Tua. And he's a different kind of player than Kyle Pitts and Drake London that, you know, I think can work behind the line of scrimmage, you know, put him in some open space opportunities, let him make a play, you know, when he gets a ball in his hands. Like, I think he can do some different things that I think Stefanski envisions him in this offense. You were hearing stories about when he was at USC, like, the coaches were like, dude, this guy's special. Like, he absolutely stands out amongst all these guys. And I don't think Georgia's offense and their quarterback really showcased Zachariah Branch a whole lot, to really expand on his offensive impact. There were definitely at times where he was flashing and, made some big plays for them, but I don't think he got as many opportunities as I think he deserved. And again, he's another guy that, before this draft, like a year ago, you were hearing, okay, if he pops off, he could be a first round wide receiver in Dynasty rookie drafts. And now I think it's like people kind of aren't as impressed. And they wanted more. And he's more of a second rounder, maybe back end of the first. But I think as training camp and stuff rolls on and we get closer to the season, I think there's going to be a kind of a slow hype train growing on Zachariah Branch. I think that there's an opportunity. I think, he makes guys miss. He's explosive. He's a tiny guy. He's not very big. But I think if he's used in the right way, and I think Kevin Stefanski's smart enough to use him in the right way, I think he could have a very nice, sneaky impact, even in redraft, but mainly in Dynasty fantasy football. Like, I think he could end up outperforming some first-round wide receivers that are probably being taken ahead of him. Omar Cooper Jr., Casey Concepcion, Denzel Boston. I think he has a chance because I think the targets are there. I think there's an offensive system there for him to benefit from, and I think he has the talent to outperform some of those guys. You look at Omar Cooper Jr., he's playing with the Jets. He's playing with Geno Smith. That doesn't really scream a lot of positive confidence going forward. The Browns, they don't know who their quarterback is. I think it's going to be Deshaun Watson, right? But Jerry Jeudy's there, Harold Fan's there. It's the frickin' Browns. Okay, it's the frickin' Browns. And you got Denzel Boston and Casey Concepcion competing with one another for targets. I think Zachariah Branch might actually do a lot better than people think, and he's going to be a guy that I'm heavily targeting. If I can get him in the second round, I feel pretty good. And I think he might have an immediate impact on this Atlanta Falcons offense going forward. All right, so those are the 4 guys that I would keep an eye on. 3 out of the 4 is definitely, you got to have some patience with them, but I think you can pay big dividends going forward, and maybe a year or 2 down the road, you look back in the draft and you're like, damn, they took him that late? Like, he went that late in the draft? It's because you had the foresight and, the preparation, and you did your homework on the guy, and you're like, okay, I think he's worth it because it can pay big dividends going forward. Hit like and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching the video. Hope everyone has a great day. Again, I always like people mentioning in the comment section and debating with me. Give me some guys maybe I didn't bring up or think about going forward. Hope everyone has a great day. See ya.